One of the decisions that you'll need to make is the actual payment arrangement of any of the funds that you have agreed upon are going to be paid for the purpose of your children to one another. Specifically, the base child support amount will need to have some kind of language that states when will that be paid. You can get very creative with this. We suggest that the parties agree to pay it in equal proportionate amounts based on the pay periods of the employer of the party who's paying. The legal term for that party is the obligor. And so whenever whoever is supposed to be making the child support payment each month, whenever their pay periods are, take the total monthly amount they're obligated by, and if they are paid every 2 weeks, multiply that by 12 and then divide it by 26, and that's going to give you an amount that they're going to be paying each pay period. How they go about paying it, there's some options. Every state has a government entity that is put in place for the purpose of enforcing child support being paid. It is not required that it's used. However, if the receiving party wants to have that entity manage the child support, the paying party is obliged to do so. Our experience has been that involving these government entities, they're often referred to as the Office of Recovery Services, or ORS, and each state has their own acronym of the government entity that collects that. As any government agency, the bureaucratic nature of it it bogs the process down, and it can oftentimes make it more adversarial than necessary. We usually encourage couples to try and manage the child support payment with the least amount of involvement from third parties as possible. If you are the payer of child support, you will appreciate the trust that's being extended to you to make that payment on time. If you force the other person to involve the government to collect that money, not only does your employer now become aware that you're paying child support, and the mistakes that can be made, the effect that it can have on your credit, we've seen it cause some major problems for people just because of administrative errors, and getting those errors fixed can be problematic, not to mention the contention that it creates. The very best way to do this is to do some form of direct deposit. You can even ask your employer to take an amount from your check before you receive it and have it put into your ex-spouse's account each month or each pay period. You can electronically have your own bank, through your own bank account, make an electronic transaction. Electronic transactions are nice because a history is kept. Proof can be shown that payments were made. We don't have disputes about those kinds of things like the old days when you wrote out checks and paid cash and had to get receipts and things like that. It made it a lot more difficult. So if you can try to manage your payments using your own electronic means, if that's not possible, know that there is a government entity that will manage that process for you, but it can have some risks that are involved.